So we are recording. Hi everyone, I'm Sudeshna from theabundancepsyche.com. If you are new here, my website is theabundancepsyche.com, and I help people find their dream careers and present their best selves to the world. I also happen to have a full-time corporate job, and I have worked for the top consulting houses of the world. But basically, I'm a techie nerd. And do you know what that means? That means that I'm rubbish at looking put together. However, every successful corporate professional I have met, they were always extremely put together, and that couldn't have been a coincidence. Which is why I studied this for some time. And today I am really pleased to have friends like Ginger who are pros at dressing professionals like you and me. For 33 years, Ginger Burr, the president of Total Image Consultants, has helped women around the world create a wardrobe they love by connecting with their inner essence. She is a graduate of Mount Holyoke College and the author of That's So You, Create a Look You Love with Beauty, Style, and Grace. Ginger's also been interviewed by the Worth Magazine, Forbes, Fox News, and Bloomberg Business. And I'm so excited to have you with me today, Ginger.
Oh,
Welcome.
thank you, Sadesha. I'm very happy to be here too. We're going to have a fun time.
Yes, we are. And generally, I tend to ask people on my show to get give us a brief on how they got started on their journey. But I know that we have so much to cover, and for 33 years, this has been your life, that I just want to get straight into the meat, if you don't mind. Or would you prefer
Oh,
another
let's
way?
go. I'm happy to talk about whatever you want to talk about. It's all fun to me. So let's go.
Okay, great. So, Ginger, first questions first. I think some of us, not me anymore, I promise, some of us happen to think that, thinking about image and how you dress, that's almost a bit shallow. But in my experience, I think it's really not. It's almost being that much more thoughtful when you present yourself to someone, and it shows that you have taken some time out. But what are your thoughts on that?
I think that how we present ourselves is critical. Now, I'm not suggesting that everybody go out and dress exactly like me or that they are somebody they're not. I think what's very important is that each one of us feels at home in how we present ourselves. See, there are two things that how we look can do. It affects how we feel about ourselves, and it affects how others perceive us. Now, there are people, and believe me, when I started this business over 30 years ago, I'm a feminist from way back, and I really thought a lot about, will people think that this is not important, that this is shallow, that this is, we should be getting into more serious things, not worrying about how we look. And what I realized as I went along and actually studied it for myself and helped my clients was that it was a form of empowering women. Because when we don't feel good about how we look, then we tend to feel self-conscious, or our self-confidence or self-esteem suffer a little bit. We sometimes choose not to attend events or take a risk that we might have otherwise because we're not feeling strong and empowered in who we are. Now, for somebody who's out there like, I don't care, I just dress the way I want to dress, that's great. That's probably not who we're talking to. Who we're talking to right now are the people who are like, yeah, I put something on and I'm not feeling that good about it, but I don't know what else to do. And so I just leave the house and grit my teeth and make the best of it. But the other thing that happens, and this is where I think it gets really exciting, is that how we present ourselves visually. We're a very visual world, and even now, even though a lot of us can't meet with people in person at this moment, we're seeing each other on Zoom, and we're seeing each other online. We're seeing ourselves online too. And what we have the opportunity to do is to give people clues as to who we are. And the more authentic and true to who we are and how we're presenting ourselves, the greater the chance that we will attract the people who are meant to be in our lives and who we really want to meet. So how we look is anything but shallow. It's an opportunity for self-expression. It's an opportunity to really dive in and be truly authentic to who you are. And I think that's kind of exciting. I struggled with this a lot back in my 20s. So I know both worlds, what it's like not to feel good about how I look and what it's like to know how. And any day I would choose knowing how I want to present myself.
Yeah, oh my God. I feel like there's so much there already to speak about, but tell us a bit more about the confidence piece in dressing up. And you don't really have to become someone else. The bits about authenticity that you mentioned, I think that's so critical, because I think whenever we think about a well-dressed person, it's either someone in a suit, someone looking really sharp in a gown. Like, we don't typically tend to think of well dressed as, office casuals, but they are almost more often than not the stuff that we reach out for. And how does that impact our confidence, and how can we be more authentic with that styling?
Absolutely. It does dramatically affect our self-confidence. And you're so right. I've worked with women who say, you know what, I have the dressy stuff down. I can do that when I need it. And I have stuff for when I just want to hang around the house. It's all the in-between stuff that gets all mixed up. And it gets really mixed up in our world right now because our world has gone so ultra casual, which, it's there's some good things about that. There are some not so good things about that too. But we've gone so casual that sometimes people think, well, the only way you really can express yourself is like jeans and a t-shirt. And there's so many more other opportunities out there. It's a matter of really exploring what makes you happy, what makes you feel good when you get dressed. And it is an exploration, and it is a journey. How we look and present ourselves is not something that's one and done. It's something that's an ongoing, lifelong journey. And that's because it's not stagnant. The fashions change, our bodies change, whether people think they will or not, they will change as you get older. And our lifestyles change. All kinds of things change, which means we have to really focus in on how we want to present ourselves in the world. And it's more complicated now than it used to be. When I started my business, there was no such thing as business casual. It didn't exist. And I was in business only for a few years before all of a sudden it became all the rage. And it made it so much more complicated, particularly for women. Men, it's a lot easier. They can put on a pair of jeans and a button-down shirt or a polo shirt or something, and they're good. For women, there are many more ways that they can feel like things aren't working for them. But business casual has made it easier because people think it's more comfortable, but it's made it harder in that women are judged more more sharply than men in the workplace. And how you dress, depending on what industry you're in, there's so many variables here, but depending on what industry you're in, it can affect your chances for promotion, for advancement, for going for a new job. There's all kinds of things that it can affect. Part of that is affected by our own sense of self-confidence, and part of that is affected by how others are perceiving us and how they think we will fit into their corporate culture or that particular industry in general.
Right. So tell us a bit more maybe about the industries and what sort of things they would expect of men, but also more importantly of women, because I think, like you said very rightly, that men can just do a button down or a polo shirt
Yeah.
and they're good. But what sort of stuff does it take industry by industry? Say, for example, if I started with banking and consulting, where most
Mhm.
of my audience is, um, typically, so if I think of my wardrobe, for example, it's very um, professional dresses, but not every day do I need to turn up in professional dresses, and at times I look like a complete overdressed person in the room, which is not bad, but which is also kind of puts too many eyes on me, and why is she dressed this way when everyone's in a jeans and a t-shirt? So could you tell us a bit more about the industries bit?
Yes, it's it can vary a lot even within industries, but the more wherever people are putting their trust in us, particularly when it has to do with finances or some big investment that they're making, um, the more professional, polished, I guess I would say, because it doesn't always necessarily have to be a suit, but you have to look like you put the look together with intention, and that and the outfit is harmonious, it makes sense and all of that. So in those kinds of industries like banking and consulting and any kinds of investment businesses, there's a more formal dress code generally. However, in the past year, some of my clients I've worked with for many, many years. And I've had several of my clients who are in those more banking investment industries. And their companies have gone, these are pretty big companies, they've gone to what they call dress for your day. And so
Mm,
it used to be that they just wore a suit, a dress and a jacket, a skirt and a jacket, pants and jacket, hat and jacket all the time, often matching, not always, but often. And now all of a sudden, this monkey wrench was thrown into it. So they're like, well, now what do I do? And it made it more comfortable for them to a certain extent, but it also made it way more complicated. And so it really varies a lot when you get into, and I do have to say up front that I don't work with men, so I can't speak as succinctly and clearly to what men should wear, but I do know that it's much harder for women because the styles out there are so many different styles that you're overwhelmed. Men, you walk into a men's department and they all kind of look the same, different
yeah,
colors, few more buttons, that's
yeah,
about it. But for women, you can have lace and frills and ruffles or not, and there's so many different options. But the more creative the field, the more you actually want to show your creativity because people are expecting that, because they're expecting you to do something creative for them in the work that they're hiring you to do. And so it it should be expressed through your clothing. It doesn't have to be ostentatious or flamboyant or anything, but you just have to show a polish and a creativity in there. And then of course there's just all the rest of the industries, and I also work with women who work in construction. That's a whole other area, and again, sometimes they have to have different looks depending on who they're meeting, whether they're on site at a construction site or they're meeting with a potential client. Everybody these days seems to go to a dress for your day, so it means that we have to have different looks in our wardrobe. The most important thing with all of this, though, is that you want to look like you created your outfit with a sense of purpose, with intention, and that it fits you well and looks polished. Even if it's jeans and a shirt, it should all fit you beautifully. Just in general, that's true.
yeah. I mean, as you were speaking, I started remembering one of my senior partners who was this lady who I really looked up to. And she used to dress really, really professionally, but also I think she had a creative side. And what she used to do was she would have very basic blacks, blues, grays, all sorts of neutrals, and then she would throw on a red scarf or something, and that would just pop the color out and also kind of make her stand out, but
Yeah.
also not so much out that people would be like, okay, why is she wearing that red dress?
Right. Right.
So
Yes.
so
It's so funny because years ago, people used to say, why isn't she more dressed up than that for work? Now people say, why are you so dressed up? And it's just completely done a 180. It's just so funny that how that has come to pass over the past 20 or 30 years. But yeah, that little bit of spark, because, and this is a fabulous point, because what's happened in the world right now is that a lot of people kind of dress the same. And so if you want to stand out a little bit more, be noticed a little bit more, make it a really positive, memorable first impression, those little tweaks make all the difference in the world. All still staying within a sense of who you are, back to what we started with, in that it has to be authentic. I have
mhm.
one client, she's really funny, very quirky, colorful, intense. And at one point she said to me, I just want a basic, classic blazer. And I just looked at her. I've been working with her for years. And I said, no, you don't. And I said, let's go look. So we went and we looked, and sure enough, she put one on and she's like, well, this is boring. And on someone else, it would be perfect because it suited who they were. On somebody quirky, colorful, and intense, no. I said, yes, we can do a basic jacket, but it has to have something that's a little quirky, that's a little colorful, that's a little intense, so that it feels authentic to you. Otherwise, if you walked around in that blazer, two things would happen. One, you'd feel uncomfortable. And secondly, you'd either scare people when you talked because she's out there, and they are expecting this sort of retired person in this very basic outfit, and then boom, she talks and it's kind of wild, and they would just not have a sense of who she was. So it was really funny just to say to her, no, you don't want a classic blazer.
Oh wow, I love this story and I love that insight, because that almost brings you back to you should be authentic in your dressing up. Now, if I turned up in like striped colored t-shirt with ruffles on, I can tell you I will feel like it might look great on someone else, but that's not me.
Yes.
And I would feel like I'm on some TV show doing something that is not me. Um, Equally, I think, yeah, your client, for them the blazer, and also you're so right. Like for if that blazer example also kind of brings to mind that now it's been a couple of years that I haven't worked in consulting, so I moved on to client side, as they call it. And um, we are much more business casual, so it's been a couple of years since I have last properly put on my blazer. And now if you ask me to put on a blazer, I suddenly am like, okay, but I don't feel like putting on a blazer anymore. So yeah, it evolves so much. And what do you then do about that evolving wardrobe? Is it because I suppose one of the challenges many people have around this is, do we just keep on updating our wardrobes because they are really expensive? If you put in the time, the intention, the money into building up a wardrobe in the first place, and then in 2 years you'd have to kind of throw away everything and get something new. So how do you kind of keep up with that?
The most important thing, I think, is, and I found women asking me for this more and more now too, is that we don't need a massive wardrobe. We need a wardrobe that fits our needs, allows us to get dressed in different outfits as often as we might want to. I have some women who are like, you know what, I don't see the same clients a lot of times. Give me 5 business outfits and I'm good. I'll just rotate them. And I have others who are like, no, I need like 2 to 3 weeks worth of different clothing that I can wear. When we buy the right amount of clothing for whatever your lifestyle is, what you do is you buy that, you wear it, and you wear it until it's dead. And that might take 2 years, it might take 3 years, it might take 4 years. And sure, there are some pieces that don't wear out that quickly, or you don't wear them often enough to have them wear out quickly, or, you know, may last 5 or 10 years. And if that works into your lifestyle and where you're working and all of that, then that's great. But what sometimes happens is that women have, and I don't know if this is true for men or not, but women sometimes accumulate so many clothes that they can't possibly wear them out before either the lifestyle, the fashions, or their body changes. And then they're looking at a wardrobe going, but I spent good money on this and now I can't wear it anymore. So buy for what you need now. And I usually tell people, women, build it around the classics. So you need to have a really good basic foundational wardrobe. And then you can bring in those pieces, you know, each season. It's nice to add a couple of things to your wardrobe so you don't feel bored. You can bring those pieces in without having the wardrobe get so big that you can't ever wear all those clothes enough to feel like you got your money's worth out of wearing it. And the other thing that's true is that you don't have to have a massive budget in order to have a really great wardrobe. It's about knowing what to choose that really works for you and feels good and that you will wear a lot. So it's about price per wear. It's about feeling the joy every time you wear whatever that piece is. It'll make you want to wear it more. And then you'll wear it until it's almost embarrassing to wear it anymore because it's worn out. And that way you don't ever feel like you've wasted money on something.
Right. And I love that insight into build your basics, right? And so what would you say are the basics? Because I think we are going back to some sort of defining a capsule wardrobe. Is that what it's called?
Yeah, you can call it a capsule wardrobe, yes. Yep.
Yeah. So what sort of basics should we be on the lookout for?
Okay, so right now I have a class called Create Your Personal Style in 6 weeks. And we spend the entire second class on how to build and develop your basic foundational wardrobe. Right. And the reason we spend so much time on it is partly because it's so important and partly because it varies from one person to the next. Mm-hmm. So for some people, they might wear jeans every day in their business. For someone else, she might just love dresses and everything is about dresses. For someone else, it's, you know, pants that she can interchange blazers and cardigans and whatever it might be with it. The key component with this is knowing what neutral basic colors work for you and not having a million of them. You do not have to have every single basic color in your wardrobe because that will make it overwhelming to try to create a wardrobe. It's about refining those down to the ones that really look good on you and about looking at your lifestyle. Like what do you wear to work? What do you wear when you go out with your kids? What do you wear when you're having date night with whoever you have date night with? You know, looking at those parts of your lifestyle and then saying, okay, for my date nights, here's my little capsule wardrobe. And for my work life, here's my You need more than one capsule, but it's identifying within that capsule and that part of your life, what do you need? Are you somebody who runs cold? So you always have to have cardigans or sweaters or jackets or whatever it might be. Or are you somebody who's hot and you need layers so you can take them off? That might be where you live. It might be your constitution. It doesn't matter, but everybody's capsule wardrobe will vary. So that makes it a little more complicated, but each person can define what works for them. Sometimes you can tell just by looking in your existing wardrobe. Oh, I'm not a dress wearer. Look, there are like 2 dresses and I never wear them. So you can get a
Mm,
sense of what you need and what will work for you.
right. Okay. And I think I think I know what you're gonna say about this, but let me ask anyway. So what would you say about basics and tying the basics down to the bigger brands? So, for example, if I know that I always reach out for a pair of blue jeans, should I always go get a very expensive pair of blue jeans from, say, I don't want to name brands because it's probably
Yeah,
not professional, but
I understand.
but you know what I mean, like one of the bigger brands, and then do you recommend that, or would you say that tailor it to your needs back again?
I always believe in tailoring it to your needs. I work with women who have different budgets, have different body shapes, live in different places. They might have stores in their location that I don't have anywhere near me. And so I think it's a matter of finding what works for your body, for your budget, for your lifestyle, and then um, choosing those pieces, making sure that they're well enough made that they're not going to fall apart after 1 washing or 2 washings. You want to make sure they're of good quality so they will last you a while. And you know, it also depends. I mean, for my clients or for people who have at least 1 season where it's really hot, I know, you know, where I live in the Boston area of Massachusetts, we get a very hot, humid lately. It's in particular a couple of months, and so women will say to me, "Oh, you know, my white colors just they didn't hold up. Now they're kind of stained or they're turned yellow." And so when you're in a hotter climate, things aren't going to last as long as when you're in a colder climate. So we have to take. There's so many things that we need to take into consideration, but we only have to do that for ourselves. So we don't have to worry about what somebody in Alaska versus, you know, Australia is going to be wearing. It doesn't, I mean, it's all personal to us. So
Yeah.
buying what the best that you can afford in those basics is a good idea to make sure they're nicely made. But you don't have to spend a fortune on something that doesn't work within your budget.
Right. Okay. And I'll ask another thing on that. So your thoughts on bags and shoes, because that's a big topic right there.
Yeah. Well, you know, I do work with a lot of women who are over 40.
Mm,
And as we get older, our feet sometimes hurt a little more than they did. We lose that little bit of that padding on the ball of the foot and all those things. And, you know, people end up with all kinds of feet issues. So I'm a big believer. And I think this is equally as important if you're in your 20s or 30s, because you want to protect your feet now.
mm,
So maybe you won't have feet problems when you get
mm,
older. Having well-fitting shoes. Again, it doesn't necessarily translate into really expensive, but
mm,
having shoes that fit you properly will make a difference. I've seen women squishing their feet into shoes, whether they're heels or they're not, it doesn't matter, that are too small for them, or squeeze their toes in a certain way, and that will cause all kinds of problems down the road. So your shoes should fit you well. Whatever your price point is, they should fit you well. For handbags, I mean, it is one area where I think it really pays to buy something beautiful. Most women I know, there are some women who are willing to change their handbag every day to, depending on what they're wearing or to make themselves happy. But you know what? Most women don't. I don't do
I
that.
don't
Most
know.
women don't do that. I want a spectacular bag. You know, I got this bag 10 years ago at a high-end consignment store. I don't know if I should, can I say the brand or should I not say the brand?
Go for it. I mean, it's good publicity, so I
Okay,
don't
there
think
we
it's
go.
bad.
It's a Stella McCartney. I'm vegan, so, you know,
Right.
I buy things that are made out of
Mm,
leather. A Stella McCartney handbag, and I paid a lot of money for this handbag, more than I had ever paid ever in my whole life for a handbag.
mm,
I loved that handbag.
mm,
I used it for 9 years.
Wow.
9 years. Every winter. I used it in the winter. I didn't use it in the summer. And our winters last about 8 months. So I used it for quite a long time. Until it was just this past fall, I finally said, okay, it's dead. It's just dead. And I cannot carry this thing anymore. It was the best money I ever spent on anything because I loved it. It was lightweight when there was nothing in it. It went with everything I owned. So you need to think about your handbag. Like, is it the right size? Will it go with a lot of things? Is it nicely made? And you want to keep an eye on it to make sure that it's always in good repair, so that if it needs to be tweaked in some way or replaced, that you do that. It's interesting thinking about shoes and handbags. A few years ago, I was talking with a human resource woman or a woman in human resources. And she was telling me the story about, in this case, it was two men who were both vying for the same position, and they had made it to the finals. They were the last two candidates being considered. And she said they were equally qualified. And she said, do you know what it came down to in terms of how we chose? Their shoes.
Wow.
One guy had scuffed shoes and one guy did not. And those little things, people are probably going, oh, you gotta be kidding me, the shoes, but they had no other way. They liked both people equally. They were both qualified, and they had to find something that would, and this was in one of the more conservative fields. So they thought, hey, if he's not paying attention to his shoes, what details might he miss that we need him not to miss?
Exactly.
So they chose the other person. So being in good repair and choosing ones that fit your feet right, that, handbags that go with a lot of your clothes, those are really important things because you're using them every day. Same thing with eyeglasses. Eyeglasses need to, harmonize with your look and feel authentic to who you are. So all of those things that you're wearing every single day, those need the most attention paid to them.
Yeah, wow. I love these stories because that's the point that I think so many people miss. Why did I not get the promotion? She just happens to look better than me, but I'm smarter. No,
but you know
she's
what?
perceived as much better than you.
And you won't always know why. They're not going to tell you it's because your shoes were scuffed. She told me that because I didn't know who the people were, and it was, a story she could tell me, but you might not ever know that that's the
They
reason.
might not even know, right? So
yes,
that's
exactly.
it. This is the unconscious bit that goes on in our head.
That's very, very true. So, we can, for people who say, I don't care about how I look, people should take me as I am. Fine. If that makes you feel great, go for it. But you have to be ready in our very visual world that there may be repercussions to that. Again, I'm not suggesting anybody not be who they are. I've had clients of mine after I've worked with them and we've really honed in on how they want to feel and what feels authentic to them to wear. They've changed their careers because they're like, I don't want to wear that anymore. I can do my same kind of work, but over here in this career, and I can wear what I want to wear over here. So, I mean, I didn't tell them to do that. That just was something that she said, it was just a byproduct of feeling more authentic in my clothing. So I think we all have to pay attention to that, whatever it is, whether we're a little more out there than some people or a little more conservative, paying attention to what really makes our heart sing and what feels authentic to us is critical.
Right. Yes. I love these tiny insights. And if I just go back to the world that we currently are in, like we are very visual and we cannot go out and meet a lot of people, but a lot of interviews, a lot of client meetings, a lot of pitches, asking for money are happening right here on video calls, like on Zoom. And I was, I changed a couple of times before being on this call. I was like, anyway, I'm not gonna look prepared for this, but I'll put in that much more effort. And what would you suggest people do in these sorts of situations where actually I can get by wearing my PJs and a slightly nice looking t-shirt or something. So what would your recommendation be for the world that we are currently living in?
It's really funny when all the sheltering in place started a couple of months ago. The first thing I did was I knew that what was going to happen was everybody was going to be on Zoom or some, equivalent. And so I immediately did a free seminar for people on how to look good on Zoom. It's still on my YouTube page. People can go and look at it. So that could be helpful. But one of the things that was really funny is that one woman got in touch with me after and she says, the worst part about being in these kinds of video experiences is I can see myself. And she said, I was so distracted by, oh my gosh, what's going on with my hair? Why did I wear that color? Oh my goodness, the light, I look like I'm 100 years old because there are all these shadows. And she said, I was so distracted by that I could barely pay attention to the reason I was actually on the call.
Yeah.
And so again, it's another reason why paying attention to how we look online, in these kinds of situations makes a difference. And because for her, just a few tweaks that I recommended in this seminar, looking at lighting, looking at the colors that you wear, looking at, the angle of the monitor, all those lots of things that I talked about in there, they all made her feel better. And then no longer was she worried about how she looked. She could focus on what it was why she was there in the online call. So it is very, very important. All of those things are very important. And I'd be happy to share that free Zoom link.
Yes, I what I'll do is I'll for the viewers, I'll put it down below in the description box, and I think that's definitely one thing I'll check out. So yeah, for sure. And I mean, I guess a fun question for you now. Have you ever seen a senior leader who's not well dressed?
So yes. And I don't really like to name names.
Okay.
I feel I'm very diplomatic in how I work with people, and I like to kind of encourage people. There are times that I see people on TV and I think, please call me, I'll help you, please call me, because I just think, why are you wearing that? When they could look so much better, in my opinion. Again, they might be perfectly happy in what they're wearing, I don't know. But yes, and the other thing that's really important in all of this, I think, to get a little more serious with this, is for women in particular, when we are in supervisory roles, management roles, I feel like we have a commitment and a responsibility to younger women coming up to model how you present yourself professionally. We aren't really trained in that way anymore. About many, many years ago, I mean, everybody was taught, like, here's how you dress for work, and here's how you dress for this, and that doesn't happen anymore. So a lot of women, again, because I work with women, a lot of women flounder around this and don't always feel self-confident. So if you get to the point where you're in a supervisory managerial role, it's really important to model that a well-dressed, it doesn't have to be fancy, it doesn't have to be super conservative, but it needs to look like you did it with intention and be appropriate to whatever your industry is, so that the women coming up think, oh, if I want to be in that role someday, okay, that's how I need to present myself. It just helps them, instead of having women just wonder all the time, am I dressed appropriately? Am I not? Should I do what she's doing? Should I do what she's doing? I think we owe it to those coming up to help them. It's another way that we support women in business to break that glass ceiling.
Yeah. That's really good, and that's pretty much what I suppose where my senior partner got my attention. Okay, you are there because you are so well dressed, and also, of course, you are smart and you are everything else, but also, like, looking at her, I was always like, okay, I want to be modeling her. So that's great. And yeah, so now I'm curious actually about the sort of clients that you work with. So I think you have hinted a few things, but it would be good to know what sort of people you work with as well.
The majority of my clients are over 40, not all of them. I have clients in their 30s. I've even had clients in their 20s, but the majority of my clients are over 40, partly because the fashion industry ignores women in their 40s. And often by the time women, not always, but by the time they reach 40 or 50, things are starting to shift a little in their bodies, either because they had children going through menopause, whatever it might be. And now all of a sudden, how they used to dress isn't working anymore. So a lot of my clients are over 40. Most of them are professional women, either entrepreneurs or working, for somebody else, but they are, business women, most of them. Some of my clients are now at the age where they're retiring. So that's a whole other area. And they're women who want to, they don't know how to put themselves together, or they don't have the time to spend fussing around, trying to figure it out on their own. They want someone who will come in and say, you know what, let's identify this, and let's work on this for you, and let's make sure we streamline that part of your wardrobe for you, so that they're making sure that they're making wise choices in what they buy, so that they're wearing their clothes so they can get dressed more easily every morning. Some women, I've had women come to me and say, you know what, I change my clothes 4 or 5 times every day before I finally decide on something to wear. And even then, I'm not always happy with what I decide on. My clients want to be able to go into their closet, pull something out, put it on, be done. And because we're busy, we're all really busy women. We don't want, and most of them, myself included, I don't want to be primping and fussing. I want to be able to pull something out of my closet, get dressed, feel good, have it be appropriate to wherever I'm going, and get on with my day so that it's not a distraction. And that's what I find my clients want to, no matter where they're going, whether they're going on vacation or they're going to, run a board meeting, it doesn't matter, or go on TV, whatever it might be. They want to know they have what they need and make it easy. So that's my job, is to streamline all of this for them.
Right. So would you say you do it only for their professional wardrobe, or is it more for professional, casual, going for a holiday? Would you do it for all of that?
I do everything. I've packed my clients for vacations or work travel.
Oh,
I've helped
wow.
my clients, buy nightgowns, night pajamas, whatever it is, because they just like, everything I pick seems ugly. You give me some ideas. So I've helped them with, I shop with my clients for eyeglasses. I will shop for whatever ball gowns, whatever they need in their life, I will help them to get it.
Wow. I feel like we definitely owe ourselves a lot of new pajamas these days, because we are literally in loungewear all the time, business loungewear and non-business loungewear. But
Yes.
no, I will surely link your Zoom chat below in the description. So finally, Ginger, where can people get in touch with you if they wanted to come and have a chat?
They can get in touch with me at my website, which is totalimageconsultants.com. And they can find everything there. I work with women all over the world, so that's never an issue. And these days, I've been working virtually for years, and so this is kind of something that what's going on right now is not a huge deal for me. But yeah, totalimageconsultants.com. They can find me there, and I'll give you the YouTube link for the Zoom video so people can go and look at that as well. But yeah, you know what? How we look and how we present ourselves and getting dressed every day, it should be fun. There should be a certain amount of joy in it. And even if you don't love the whole primping thing, you still want to feel good about how you're presenting yourself, whether you're going on a walk with your best friend or you're, going to an important meeting at work. It doesn't matter. And so my wish for everybody is that it be a joyful, fun, easy experience for you. So I hope that what we've talked about today is helpful.
Yeah, definitely. I hope so too. It's been really good for me as well. So thank you so much for joining us today. And I shall be sure to link your video below, and I'll speak to you very soon.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ginger. Bye then.